Jason, I think that since the last time, have you been on with us since we've been on this new system, the StreamYard? I feel like last time you did it with us, we were on the old system.
Yeah, I don't think you were on StreamYard. I've done podcasts before in StreamYard with a couple of other people.
Okay.
I actually kind of wish that we were using StreamYard.
I'm
probably going to need to pick your guys' brain about how all this works.
Honestly, it's made our life a lot simpler. So basically, you had to do nothing. StreamYard's recording everything right now. I don't know, and we're now live on YouTube. If you go up in the top right corner, there's a little thing that says comments, and you can even see the live chat as it scrolls by. What's up, Joe? It's Joe from Delaware Valley Workshop. You probably met him at Workbench. Come on. It's a great system, and it's really simplified our life. Because we did a podcast with my buddy Mark from Remarkable Woodworks, and he forgot to record locally. So we basically just spent 2 hours recording a podcast, and we're like, okay, we have to scrap it because we don't have his audio recordings. So this does a local, like it'll record your stuff locally and then upload it to the cloud. It'll record mine locally. It gives you all the audio streams broken out as their own thing, all the video streams broken out as their own thing, and it also simultaneously streams it to Facebook, to YouTube, and I'm sure there's a few other services we're not actually utilizing.
Let me ask you this. So when you're recording this and it's streaming live on YouTube, is it only streaming live to an audience that you select?
No, everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
Unless we're doing the after show, that's locked down to just anybody with the link.
Yeah, so basically what we do with the after show is we do it as like a unpublished video on YouTube or unlisted video on YouTube, and then we share that link on our Patreon page.
Okay. So right now people are on YouTube. Anybody that the 4 people in this world that follow Off the Cut podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're dedicated for. How dare you?
We got 7 right now.
Yeah. So they are like watching this live on YouTube, and anybody could watch it on YouTube right now.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. It's a good system. It's I think it's $50 a month, but honestly, it's saved that in editing time and just organizing time, so it's been well worth it for us.
So we use Zoom. And the only reason why we use Zoom is because, one, I was already paying for it for my business.
Sure.
Because I do a lot of Zoom calls with patrons and other people. And I was like, when I took over the podcast, when Ben left, Ben was one of the people that we started the podcast with.
Yeah.
And when he moved on, he was doing all the editing. And I was like, for some reason, whatever software we were using that recorded all of our audio individually, like wasn't working on my computer that day.
Yeah.
Like it needed some update or something. And I'm like, look, Ben, I'm like, let's just do it. And we always did Zoom as a backup. But he was taking the 3 individual files and putting them in and editing each individual audio. Yeah. And I said, let's just use Zoom today. Screw it. We don't have time for this. Like whatever. And I edited that episode. I was like, this will be my one that I try. And like what I noticed was that all of our audio was equalized. Like everybody's audio levels. True. They were, granted, we're all using the same microphones and everything, but there was no difference between, because that was the problem we had before, is that like Sedge would be super loud, Ben would be kind of in the middle, I'd be, right around where I needed to be, maybe a little bit loud, sometimes maybe a little bit quiet. And so he had to try to adjust each one of those.
That's a pain in the ass.
Yes, one of the issues that happens apparently is if you're doing the audio, whatever the top audio file is in that stack, that's what the others base off of, or something weird.
Okay.
So it, at least in the software that he was using. So it took us months to try to figure out the best way. And then we did Zoom one time, and I was like,
that's just do this for whoever.
Yeah, I literally put it into Final Cut. And we have never had a problem with it. I put it in Final Cut. Like I said before we started recording, I raised the audio levels up by like 3 or 4 decibels, just so we're peaking right around like -1, -2. And I hit export, and it's done. It's been nice. That's why I'm like so hesitant to leave. But I see this, and it just looks better. Like the video quality is better.
Yeah,
and you get the individual feeds too.
Yeah.
I guess
And
the
it does a
downside to
transcript.
this, yeah, it does. There's a whole bunch of AI stuff that we haven't even touched on, like, auto transcripts and stuff like that. The only downside to this is that we do have to balance the audio a little bit, and we usually just do it manually. We make sure like we're all kind of close to the same volume, and then usually when I go through and do the editing process, I'll apply a compressor to it, which brings up the low sounds and keeps the high sounds around the same volume. So it usually ends up working out okay.
So do you do match loudness in Audition whenever you do that? Or do you just compressor it?
I just compressor it.
Okay.
The best thing that we did was all get this Shure microphone.
That's a good idea. I like the idea of like synced up microphones across the board.
Yeah. We did it a long time ago. When Ronnie came on the podcast, he was there for, I don't know, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 episodes. And back then we had a much smaller Patreon following, so we weren't making like really much money at all. But we had enough to buy in the account after all the other expenses to like buy a couple of these because these microphones are like $250, $260.
Is that the SM7B? Oh, and okay.
Yeah, MV7. Yeah, we didn't want to get the one that like you can hook up to a mixer and all that other crazy crap.
It's too much crap.
Yeah, but these are great. Yeah,
It's
this
got
one I
the-
think you can too. Yeah, with this right here.
Yeah, it's got both.
Yeah, you see where I'm putting my my finger in the hole?
Yeah.
Like that? Is this an X-rated YouTube live stream?
Can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using like a little lavalier mic. You probably can't even see it right now because I wanted to get away from having like this big mic in my office just so my desk was a little bit simpler. But the idea of having us all be on the same microphone sounds very appealing. That we're all just nice and I don't know. It sounds very similar because I fucking hate that I've become this person. But I'm like, oh, this microphone sounds tinny or this one sounds a little boomy, and it's
Yeah. Nerd stuff. We've just got
stuff,
ours. I
yeah.
actually bought them the same thing. These are just these little stands.
oh yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
And when I'm not using it, like it sits on my floor right next to my desk. And when we record the podcast, I pop it up here. I can turn it whatever direction I want. And then it's because I know what you mean. I thought about like getting this whole rig, like everything you see all the cool YouTubers, like the microphone. I'm just like, this is so stupid. Like I'm using this for a podcast and we're not Joe Rogan,
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, you want to give me 5 just get this ball rolling for the actual show?
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Off the Cut podcast. Today is May 22nd, 2024, and Eric is very selfishly still on his honeymoon.
Yeah.
Can you believe the nerve of this guy taking a 3-week honeymoon? It's ridiculous. But because Eric is gone, we have a guest host to fill his shoes, his very, very small shoes. And that is
Very
Jason
small.
Bent from our rival podcast, The Green Suitors. Welcome, Jason.
Well, I'm glad to be here. And I would just like to let everybody know that this episode is actually worth listening to now.
Yes, that's true. That's true. We'll try not to do the normal garbage that we usually do.
Well, to be fair, you did get rid of the dead weight.
I like to think so. Did a little spring cleaning. It is the season after all, right? And yeah. I had Scott and Suman on last week. Scott Walsh and Suman from Woodcraft by Suman, and that was a fun episode. It's nice to shake it up every once in a while. Just get rid of Eric. He's useless.
Yeah.
He's dead weight. You're right.
Well, now that I know that they were on the last episode, then I'll have to listen to that one because I know that he wasn't on it. So
Yes, Suman, by the way, crowd pleaser. The most shared episode of all time was Suman, and I think we might be trending towards a second one. I haven't checked the stats in a little bit, but it was looking good off the hop.
Suman's a good dude. He's
He
in
is
the
a good
chat.
dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he has wonderful taste in watches.
And shoes too.
And I mean, honestly, everything.
Yeah. Well, you know who else has a good taste in watches is the sponsor of this podcast, Jonathan
And the
Katz
other.
Oh,
Moses.
Mr. Jonathan Katz Moses. I'll let you do your sponsor thing. I know you got to read it.
Well, no, we usually just freestyle it. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. So the sponsor of the video or the podcast is not Jonathan himself, but rather KM Tools. And let me ask you this, Jason. What is your favorite KM tool? Do you have any in your shop?
I do. I have some. I've got his dovetail jig, which
Obviously.
I've actually lately been messing, not like super lately, but like over the past few months, I've actually been messing with it a lot more because I've started to get this little itch for hand tool stuff, which makes me sick to my stomach. But man, that thing really does work very, very well. The best results I got were with that.
That is the tool, I believe, that basically launched his business. I think he had another one before that. I'm trying to think back to the interview we did with him last time, but I think that was the one that just kind of like exploded in popularity. And he was like, okay, I have a real thing here. This is how I'm going to launch my tool business.
Yeah. I've got some other stuff, some of the CMT stuff. I've ran some of the CMT blades.
Oh, so great.
In my old SawStop, great stuff. I've got other random odds and ends things that are off of his site. He'll send me some stuff every once in a while, and then there's a few things I ordered. I did order one of those the router plates that Tamar from 3x3 Customs did. That's actually a really cool.
I haven't had a chance.
One.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to use that thing yet, but every time I see it, I'm like, man, that thing is cool. I just need to find the perfect project to actually like showcase it so I can like kind of like show off its strengths.
Yeah.
But okay, so the great thing about Jonathan and KM Tools is that all the tools in the store are either designed by himself and his team, or they are tools that they actually have in their shop as woodworkers. And a portion of every single sale goes to the Katz Moses Woodworkers with Disabilities Fund, which puts tools in the hands of people who need them. And if all that wasn't enough, he also gives $50 every month to our patrons. We do a little giveaway. It's a lot of fun. And just a great guy, great shop, and I can highly recommend shopping there. All right, let's get on with the rest of the show.
I was just with him. I went and visited him in Santa Barbara last month before. I'm actually, there's a couple of things I'm working with him on right now.
Oh, anything you can talk about, or is it kind of still early stages? Okay.
Yeah, it's still early stages. He briefly discussed one of them on his page, but we've got some ideas that we've been tossing back and forth. And so, one thing that we actually kind of created a rough draft, a prototype, I guess you would call it. And I brought back here with me, and I've actually been messing with it on this current project that I'm currently working on. But we'll see.
So you're testing out your own potential future products, seeing if you can isolate any issues with it, any ways you can improve it.
Oh yeah, and I've already identified. So that's the thing. Like sometimes I wish that my brain worked like guys like Jonathan Katz-Moses, Izzy Swan. Those guys, like I just don't understand how they think of the things that they think of.
I mean, I think it's like just like woodworking, right? Like it's a practice thing. You do it again and again and again, and eventually, like you learn from your mistakes last time, and it's iterative design, right?
Definitely.
I'm thinking about where things can be improved too. I think they have that mindset of like knowing that something can be improved, and then knowing that they can figure out how to improve it.
Yeah.
Versus,
my problem is.
Well,
my issue is that, like, if you were to ask me right now, hey, what are some things that you struggle with in your shop that you think most people struggle with? I would have a very hard time coming up with those items off the top of my head. But then I'll be out working in my shop and I'll encounter one of those issues and I'll be like, ooh, this is the thing. And then it's like for 5-10 minutes, I'm thinking about it. And then my brain is going so many other directions that I completely forget about it. And if you ask me the next day, I'd be like, I have no idea what I was thinking.
That's when it pays to just keep like a little physical notebook in your back pocket or something like that. Like I have the Samsung phone that has the little pen in it. So whenever I have an idea like that, I just pop the pen out and jot it down on the screen. Because I know, and this is something I've learned, again, we're talking about, iterative design and learning from your mistakes, is I've forgotten so many good ideas over the years. I just had to force myself to stop what I'm doing, take a note, and then move on with your task.
Well, One thing that was interesting when I was visiting John, the reason why I went out there was for a very particular thing, which if we come up with a solution to this in a package, I think it's going to be a home run because it's filling
Sign me up.
It's filling a void in the market that has been created. But the thing that we actually prototyped within like a couple of hours, like watching him design this thing, it was basically like we just started having a conversation, and it was like, how can I, like, here's an issue that I feel like a lot of people have, and there's like, to do this, you need these 5 jigs. Well, what if we had this thing all in one?
Yeah.
And so we started talking like, okay, what would that look like? What would you need? What are the offsets? What are the measurements? And then that's kind of how this thing came to light. And, I ended up leaving there with this, this jig to come back and mess with and figure out how to make it better.
That's kind of the magic of collaboration a lot of the time too. Like, not only is Jonathan, very well versed in making products, but he's also a very seasoned woodworker, and just 2 seasoned woodworkers in the room bouncing ideas back and forth. Like, it's right. Much more powerful than I think a lot of people give it credit for. They're like, oh, I can just sit on my own and come up with great ideas. Like, nah, a lot of the time it really helps to have somebody else to talk to.
I mean, that's the case, I feel like, with anything. I have a lot of so I have this shop layout consultation service that I actually just finally officially launched. Like, it's on my website now.
Oh, sweet.
There's a questionnaire that people can fill out. And I talk about it in a video that I just released on YouTube, which was talking about like 10 layout tips
I saw that you just
to help you with a more effective workshop, right? And one of the things, as I was developing that idea, and this has been in the works for like a year and a half. Like, I actually plan on launching this like a year ago. But I kept dragging my feet. But one of the big things, the struggles of everybody that I was talking to about this idea was, you can't really recreate your space in someone else's shop. I'm like, well, that's not the point. The point is not that I'm trying to recreate the space. Sometimes just getting another set of eyes on your space can be the biggest. Because when we're looking at the things that we see on a daily basis, and this applies to all of us, we are stuck in our own ways. We can't see past what is directly in front of us. This is why it drives me absolutely crazy when I'm having a problem and my wife pokes her head in the door and she sees that I'm frustrated. And I'm like, I can't figure this out, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, what about this?
Damn it. You're right.
Yeah.
Shit.
But that's the exact same thing. It's like,
I know. Totally.
She doesn't see anything that I saw up into that point. All she sees is what's there, right? And nothing else is clouding her judgment.
She doesn't have all that baggage from before,
exactly.
right? Yeah, totally.
Exactly. So when I was working with Sedge at his shop one day, this was probably a year ago, and this is when I was really like getting hot and heavy into this whole idea, and like I was excited about it. And we were in his shop, and his shop was like really like crowded, and it seemed like it could have been laid out better. Like things were, and we just started BSing because he looked at me one day, and I was like standing there with my arms crossed, and I was looking across the room, and he was like, what are you thinking about? And I was like, I just wondered what it would be like if you moved this over here and this over here, and it would give you the ability to do X, Y, and Z. And then his head started spinning. And he ended up making a bunch of changes, and he's super happy with the shop now. And the very first thing that he said, he's like, sometimes you just need another set of eyes. Like that's really all it takes. And that's why that collaboration piece is so beneficial.
I think that's also what I enjoy so much about doing this podcast too, is that, every week I get together with Eric, Derek, and, maybe some guests depending on the week. And we get to just kind of chat about like social media, like what's working, what isn't working, like how is our business going, like different ways that we can tackle our business as, social media creators too. And I think it's helped me immensely. It's also part of the reason I love Workbench too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you though? Did you love it this year? Did you love it this year?
Okay, look, it's super easy to hate on Workbench because yes, as a conference, as a business, it's very poorly run. it's, the food sucks, the classes suck, the this sucks, the that sucks. But again, just the meeting of the minds, being able to sit and have a meal with Jonathan Katz-Moses, be able to, drink a beer with John Cesarno from Lincoln Street. Like, all these little things add up to, I think, a lot of value. Like, I came out of, not this workbench, but I came out of the last workbench with like 5 tips in my mind that I think easily doubled the performance of my channel coming out of that.
Yeah.
So this year, maybe not the same, but I think laid some groundwork for some other things too. So
I mean, the other issue is too is that like anybody, like once you've gone a few times, like anybody that went for their first time, they probably thought it was the most amazing event of all time.
Yeah, true.
Anybody that goes multiple times, it's just like any other job. This was a big thing in the Army.
Yeah.
The duty station that you're at is always the worst, and the one you left is always the best. And what's funny about that is that, you're in a current assignment and you think it's the worst, and you just wish you were in your old one. As soon as you leave that one, you get to the new one, and you're like, "This sucks. I wish I was at my old one, the one that you were complaining about." Yeah. And I think that it's because people get accustomed to things, and they're always comparing the good old days to what's currently in front of them, right? And so for guys like myself and Ronnie and some others that have been, 5 times now or whatever, I will 100% agree with you. The value, and I've always felt this way, the value is not in the classes unless it's your first year and you're just getting into social media. The value is the minute that conference is over and everybody's hanging out at the bar, they're going to dinner, or they're networking, or you're talking with brands for, if those are brands that you actually want to work with. And that is incredibly beneficial, and you're building relationships. Yeah. So like moving forward, we talked about this on the podcast right after Workbench Con. We're not like, I'll go next year for like 2 days, but I will not be buying a ticket to the event itself, because to me, I'm just throwing, $600 away because I don't go to any of the classes.
That is kind of the move, I think, going forward, because the classes are, a very little value. Even, I hear what you're saying, like as a first-time creator, there's probably a lot of value that you could take away from some of the classes, but even then, it's really easy to just be like, oh, this one sounds interesting. Like, you don't really know the contents of a class until you've done it. And there's no kind of like color coding, like this is a beginner class, this is an intermediate class. So I even think getting a lot of value from the classes is quite challenging in a lot of ways. But once you're kind of like an intermediate to advanced creator, like, you could just go and hang out. But like, why pay for? You get a couple crappy meals out of it, some free drink tickets.
Yeah.
Free drink tickets, I should say.
And a bag full of, like a huge bag when you check in, full of a bunch of like tchotchke crap from the companies, like all their stuff that they have an overstock of. I would say, like, I kind of agree with that, and I'll amend what I was saying. Like a brand new newbie that literally just got on social media and just saw the hype and went to the conference, even those classes, as basic as they are, would still be so many things that would go right over their head. But if you're in that, like, I've been on for a little while, I have a YouTube channel, I have an Instagram, I've established somewhat of a following, whether it's 2,000, 5,000, 20,000, I kind of have an understanding of how this works. That's who would really benefit for the first time, because they have that baseline knowledge.
Yeah.
And most of the things that people are talking about, they would understand. And then you go to, like, I went to one class this past year, and I usually just go to classes with like friends of mine that are teaching. Yeah, so I went to like Brad and John's and Cam's class on, talking about the different revenue streams, because I was just like, maybe I'll discover a revenue stream that I'm not thinking about. And like that kind of stuff is beneficial, but big picture stuff, I'm not. I'm all about the bar in the evening. I'm all about
I think I went, my first workbench, I think, it was right when I first started my YouTube channel. I think I had, like 5,000 subscribers or something like that. That one I didn't take away that much from, but my second time when I went back, I probably, I had 100, let's say 100,000 subscribers. That one was the one where I really took a lot away. But then this time going like, this is a crazy thing about operating a social media channel at scale is like somebody can give you a little tip, and if you can make your video 10% better, you might end up getting 10x the views, right? Because it's like an exponential curve in terms of how well a video will perform. Like once you start doing a little bit better, it just gets exponential. And then the same thing, like I was talking to Clayton about deep linking, like how to make your affiliate links more efficient. And it's like, it's this small little thing. It's just like, a 10-second tip. But if you already have enough affiliate revenue coming through, like just making your affiliate links 10% better might mean an extra $500 every month or something like that. So that's kind of the crazy thing.
It may require almost no work to do.
Exactly. So that's these, like, I think even for like advanced creators, there are these little things like going to John and Brad's class. It's like just like the smallest little thing, even if it's just a slight tweak to the way you're already operating, could mean $1,000 every month in extra revenue or something like that. So I try to not get in the headspace of, I know everything, I don't need to go to these classes.
Oh, no. I mean, literally there is something. I've talked to some of these big creators that like have bigger channels than mine, and I'll tell them about something that I'm doing, which I feel is like just a very basic common thing. And they're like, wait, you're doing that? Man, I'm leaving money on the table. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're not doing that? And then they'll be talking about sponsors. And I'm like, I haven't really messed with sponsors until this year. And now I'm looking at it and going, God, I'm such an idiot, because like that is such a fast way to double your income basically for doing the same work. And it's really fascinating, like how everybody kind of is at this different stage, and they put importance on things that maybe not everybody is putting the same importance in. And it's that one little thing that you're like, all I would have to do is repurpose this for this and not do any extra work, and I can make an additional $2,000 a month. Like, exactly. Why am I not doing that? Right.
Yeah, I think the big one that I took away this year was it's like you got to get on Facebook. You got to start repurposing your additional content for Facebook. And so I met the people from Voov there, and they run my Facebook channel for you. And this month I made more from Facebook than I did from YouTube. And it literally all I had to do was sign a contract with them and say, yeah, your edits look great.
So how many? If you don't mind me asking, how many followers do you have on Facebook when Voov picked you up? Did you already have a pretty big audience?
No, like 10,000, 11,000, something like that.
And what do you have now?
60,000 a month later.
63.
So
63, yeah.
I have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth with Voov.
Yeah, because I have heard bad things about Voov. Like, I don't want to say they're like the perfect company, but yeah.
Well, I'm assuming you deal with a woman by the name of Fernanda.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had a meeting with Fernanda after Workbench Con last year.
Okay.
And I don't have the followers. I'm at like 4850 or something. I'm like so close. I just don't put any effort into Facebook.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, it's no problem. We'll get you there. Like that's." Well, we can do that very quickly. We'll do the content. Let's get in touch. Like we had a phone call, like a Zoom call, everything. It was like 100% good to go. Crickets, never heard anything. Sent emails, never heard anything. Sent follow-ups, never heard anything. And then Keith Johnson, I was talking to him and he was telling me about Voov. And I was like,
yeah.
Who do you deal with? Do you deal with Fernanda? He's like, yeah, I'll send her an email. He sends her an email. Nothing. Crickets. Follow-up. Nothing. Then right when we're at Workbench Con, literally while we are there, that first night after they're done setting up, I get an email from Fernanda and said, "Hey, Jason, just want to let you know I'm here. Would love to talk." And then I didn't end up spending any time up there on the upper level, so I never saw her. But I was at the bar on the last night, and her associate, the CEO or whoever it was that she was with, I had a very nice conversation with them in the bar, and we got on a phone call again, and we did the same exact thing. She'd looked at all my analytics, all this stuff. And she's like, yeah, well, I'll get back with you. Never heard anything from her. I'm like, what is going on?
I have had, it's hard to get in touch with them. They definitely, I think I have 2 emails out to them right now that have just never been responded to. But, so,
they're probably got a lot going on. And
they're probably representing, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with a small team. I've always thought that what ends up happening is that they say, yes, let's do this. And then they look at my content and they're like, what videos does he have that we could actually turn into that short form stuff? Because my channel's not about a bunch of build videos because they've never performed well on my channel. I don't love editing them. I don't like making them. So I do a lot more instructional stuff, tool stuff.
I think yours could translate.
I think it could, but I think that I don't know. They're the experts. They're like, we beta test all this stuff, and
I wonder. I honestly think you might be overthinking it a little bit. I think it might just be that they're just bad at emailing and following up on things, rather than they've analyzed your channel and they don't think it's suitable. Maybe. But who knows? Who knows? You never know.
Maybe I need to email her again and just be like, hey, just wanted to follow up again. But again,
honestly. I had to follow up 3 or 4 times initially just to get that initial meeting going. So,
but that's what kind of makes me hesitant about it. Is it's like, why should I go to all this trouble to get them on board? But at the same time, they do all the work. I'm not doing it right now. I'm making $0.00 doing this. Yeah. They do all the work, use my content, and all I get is a check, and I could be making an extra $5,000, $10,000, 20 grand even. I've heard of people making much more than that in a month.
Yeah.
From Facebook. It's absurd the amount of money that they're paying. And why not? And then I thought about what are some other companies that do that, like Voov Media.
Yeah, what's the other one?
Reach out to them.
There was one, Motion Society, I think, and there's another one. Oh, the name escapes me. It's like Moog or Bloop or something like that. Yeah, these fucking social media companies and their names.
Fake one that Eric made.
I kind of, I had a similar thing. I heard about them my second year at Workbench Con. Somebody mentioned them in passing, and I was like, well, why would I split the revenue with them? Why wouldn't I just hire my own editor to do it for me? And so I kind of I had that idea in my head. I'll just do it myself. But a whole year went by and I didn't do it myself. Yeah, so I was like, I'm kind of at capacity just making my YouTube videos and running my business as is. I don't have the additional capacity to take on Facebook as well. So I kind of just swallowed my pride. I was like, you know what? Let me outsource this to an expert in the field. And I've been happy with the results. So,
do you edit your own YouTube videos?
Kind of. So I have a video editor named Bryson who does a lot of the work. But it's also kind of collaborative too. So basically he'll go through, he'll do a rough cut of my videos. He'll chop out all the BS, the part where you press the record button on the camera and you walk and you do your thing and you walk back and you press the stop button on the recording. So he'll cut that. I'll go in, I'll do my voiceovers. He'll do another rough edit where he tightens everything to match the voiceovers. Then I'll go in again and I'll make changes. I'll re-record voiceovers and then, so we go back and forth 3 or 4 times. And then,
that is my next thing.
Yeah. Editor, dude, money well spent.
I want to hire an editor.
Yes. Even if it's just somebody to organize footage and trim out the BS I'm talking about where you're walking and pressing the record button, you'll be amazed at how much more clear it is when you can just sit down and be like, okay, I have to do something here. Okay, this part I can leave without a voiceover because it's self-explanatory. I don't know. It's really made my life a lot easier.
One of the things that I struggle with is, one, you have to find somebody that can match the style that you do your videos. But at the same time, I don't necessarily need somebody to match my style because somebody could edit it and create something new that makes my videos even better that I was never doing.
That's fresh set eyes, same that collaborative mindset, right?
Yeah. So that's the first thing that I want to do. Or the first reason why. The second reason, I spend way too much time behind a damn computer. Like I'm trying to get on a schedule now where the first week of the month or the last week of the month, I haven't decided which one yet. It just depends on, I travel a lot now, but
yeah, fair.
I basically record whatever videos are coming out for that month, right? And if there's sponsors assigned to them now, then that's when I'll do the ad reads. So 1 week, I do nothing but film and come in the house and edit everything, and then have it ready to go, sent off, and then basically I can do whatever I want for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
because everything's already good for that month, and that seems to be doing really well. Here's the problem, though: it never just takes me a week. I'm always in here longer because I have other things that I need to do. And the way that I edit videos is I go out and I film, and then I come inside and I do exactly like you're talking about. I won't even listen to it. I'll just put all of the footage in there, and I just chop everything that I'm not talking. Yeah. And then I'll go back to the beginning. I hit play. I let it run through. I screwed that up. I start it again. I delete the previous one. I just keep listening. And then that's how once I get a rough one done, then I go back and I watch it again. And that's when I start tightening things up, writing down, okay, I need B-roll here. I need a shot of me doing this here. This shot doesn't look right. And the videos that I make are very easy. Like I don't like build videos because they take so much time because you got to do voiceovers, you got to do all this other crap. But if you were to say, hey, Jason, can you do a video on the Festool Conturo? I could literally walk out in my shop right now, 0 plans, 0 outline, anything. I could go out there right now. I could film that video in 1 hour. I could come back in here, immediately edit it. That would take me like 2 hours, and the video would be done.
Yeah.
And so to me, I'm thinking like, is it really worth it to have that? Because now I'm relying on somebody else to get the stuff done. Like, and now there's money involved and there's timelines associated with it. Like, if I'm paying you, I better have this video by Thursday morning at 9:00. So I can, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's why, I mean, the way I do it with my editor is, like I was saying, it's very collaborative. It's very like free form. Like, so what I'll do a lot of the time is I'll just shoot basically an entire video. Like I'll shoot the whole build, I'll record most of the A-roll and stuff like that, and then I'll just give him all the footage, and then I'm off onto the next project. And so I'm not as concerned, and because I'm kind of on a similar cadence to you, it's like 1 video a month type of thing. If it takes him a week to organize it all, he's got his own life, he's got things going on, I'm not too worried about it. As long as it's done by the end of the month, I'm happy, right? So, or as long as it's, as long as it's organized and I can then I can sit down and spend a day doing voiceovers, and then I'm, again, back to the other project. So, I don't know. If you're on a really tight deadline, you know how to edit. You can hop in and you can take the reins if you need to.
Let me ask you this. How do you, is he local to you?
Yeah, kind of. He lives like
an hour. Do you give him a hard drive
away
with the files, or do you have a shared? So
I have
you
a shared
upload.
Well, he's got
like a cloud, or do you have your own NAS?
I have my own NAS, and he's got a login for it, and so he just logs into the NAS, downloads the files onto his own system. It takes a little while to do the file transfer, but not too bad.
Do you use Synology?
Yeah.
Okay, I might pick your brain on that outside of this because I have a guy who's down in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And he's a photographer, but he also does like video editing and stuff. And he's been asking me like, hey, I'd love to try this out. Okay. Can you upload it to, we could just upload it to like Google Drive. And I'm like, no, because I already have my own cloud with a Synology NAS. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can give you access to a particular folder.
For sure. Yeah, that's what we have a shared folder. So we have a shared folder with the entire project in it, all the footage, we use Adobe Premiere, so it's a Premiere project file. As soon as he hits save on his end, it goes immediately uploaded to the Synology, and I can open it on my end within 30 seconds of him saving, and I can see all the changes he's made, and so it's really streamlined and really easy.
Have you noticed any issues with like, okay, so he puts all of your files into one, exports that into one big file that you then chop up, right?
No, hold on. So say that again. I'm not.
So let's say you're doing a video and you have 20 clips.
Yes.
He does the first initial rough edit. Is he editing each individual clip and then re-uploading those, or is he putting all 20 of those together and exporting that as one file?
No. So what he's doing is he's creating like a Adobe project file. I don't. Which video editing software do you use?
Final Cut.
Final Cut. So there must be like a Final Cut project file, right?
Yeah.
So we just share that project file. So he saves and
it's all on the NAS.
Yeah, like the project file is on the NAS. So
he accesses it like a hard drive, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we both share the same project file. So he saves. I open the project. I can see everything he's done in the project. So he doesn't have to export at the end of every day.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. See? It's really smooth and seamless.
Damn it, I didn't want this podcast to be worth it, but that right there was a bit of because that's one thing that I was concerned about is it's like, because anytime you like chop up a file, you export it, and then you take that file and you make corrections to that, export it again, that you continue to degrade the quality of the file, and I didn't want to do that.
And sometimes it's like I'll hop on and I'll be like, oh, I wish he made this clip 10 seconds longer. Rather than sending an email or writing a message like, oh, you should make this clip longer, I just grab it and change it myself. That's why it's so nice to both be working on the same file. It's like I give him broad level instructions and then I can do all the micro stuff that'd be just annoying to ask him to do.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's honestly a really good service. And it sounds like this guy you have down in Tennessee, like he's probably knows your videos, like if he's in contact with you.
Yeah, he's actually one of my patrons, which is kind of cool.
Well, there you go. So I wouldn't worry too much. Like he probably knows your style. He can, I don't know. Yeah, it seems like a good opportunity. That's how I met my editor. He just reached out. He's like, hey, I like your videos. You looking for a video editor? Yeah.
I can't remember what brought it up. He's a big watch guy too. So we were talking about watches and stuff. Nice. And I think I was just bullshitting with him one day, and I was like, man, I just need an editor. And then he's like, well, why don't you let me try? And so, as a matter of fact, that reminds me, like, I need to send him a message tonight and be like, let's get on the phone tomorrow. I have to highlight something. Hythe Woodwork Designs. It's Mr. Gary Furness in the UK.
Oh,
yeah. He's very mean to me. I don't know why.
Is that why he's calling me confused?
I have been nothing but supportive. I posted a mistake of mine today on Patreon because I'm actually trying to like focus a lot more on Patreon because there's people there that are paying money.
Yeah.
So I've stopped sharing as much on Instagram.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm putting more stuff over on Patreon just because I feel like those people deserve it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And yeah, he just immediately writes back, like comments on the video within like 30 seconds after I post it. I'm feeling defeated, right? Because I make a stupid mistake, a dumb mistake. Like, couldn't even believe that I did that. I've built 1 million cabinets and I did like the dumbest thing you could have ever done. And he just writes back and comments, dumbass. Thanks, Gary. Thanks.
What's the limit to verbal abuse that you'll take if somebody's paying you?
I don't know. With Gary, it's pretty low. That's his first, second, and third strike.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We got probably like 5 minutes into the podcast last week, and Scott had to stop and be like, I actually know Suman really well in real life, and that's why I'm being so mean to him right now, because he was just ripping on him constantly. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you actually have to know somebody pretty well before you can be mean to them, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I've kind of given up on my Patreon, and I hate to say that because I know there are people who are paying for me every month, but I just hated plugging it all the time, and I really struggled to find a way to deliver good value to it. Mm-hmm. So how have you found making that switch from, instead of posting things on Instagram, you post them on Patreon?
I'll let you know when I figure it out. So
okay.
It's funny because you mentioned that, and when I first started my page, I've had a Patreon for like, God, I don't know, 3.5 years. I never plugged it. I never talked about it. Most people never knew that I had one. Yeah. And this was before like everybody and their mother had a Patreon. Right now it's like everything has a Patreon, right? And I was racking my brain trying to think like, what do I do? Because I've always been a very open person. I got on social media because I like to help people and I like to share things. Mm-hmm. So I'm a very in the moment person. So I would do tons and tons and tons of stories, very detailed about everything that I was doing. And then I was like, okay, well, if I'm doing that on Instagram and people aren't paying, what do I do on Patreon that is extra? So I started asking my patrons, this is again, a long time ago, like, what would you like to see? And the overwhelming majority of people responding to that question were always like, we don't really expect anything extra. This is just our way of giving back, or we just wanted to be a part of this community, or this is just my way to help. I tried to do I want to do courses eventually, like instructional courses, which would basically be just a much more detailed YouTube video that you'll never see on YouTube. And I tried to poll my audience on Patreon for feedback on that. And I got such little feedback, because the way I look at it is that Patreon is another social media platform. It's another thing that they have to log into. It's another thing that they have to interact with. And I feel like a lot of people just don't necessarily want to interact on that.
Yeah.
What I will say,
it is a pain. It's not a good platform, which is
it's not a good platform.
It's very frictiony. Yeah.
Yes. It's not simple like Instagram is. There are some cool features about it. And I'm still trying to figure that stuff out. But then it's like, okay, I can do memberships on my website. I can do memberships on YouTube. I can do member areas on Instagram. It's like, what do you do? And how do you differentiate between those different platforms?
Yeah.
And that I still have not figured out. What I will say is, since I have started pushing Patreon more and trying to be a little bit more deliberate, a good example is today. I shared that mistake as a video, and then I actually shared what I did to correct it.
Yeah.
On Patreon. Didn't do any stories on Instagram until the end of the day. I did a quick little update, and I talked about, I made the dumbest mistake today ever. If you guys want to find out what the mistake was, I shared it over on my Patreon. Has anybody signed up for it? No. But every once in a while, I'll get one or two people that do. And I've also started talking about it in YouTube videos as well.
I think, you have to let your audience know, because nobody's reading the video description, especially, you might have a couple links at the top, but by the time you get down to the third or fourth link, nobody's checking that stuff. So you actually have to verbalize it and say it a lot. But I've been struggling with the idea, because Patreon's such an annoying platform. I'm like, maybe I should just collapse my Patreon and then make a YouTube members only area, just so it's less friction. Yeah.
So YouTube has their own supporter program. So does Instagram. Most of these platforms do, but everybody goes to Patreon. So what is that? Is it just because Patreon's known for that, or because the other ones are so new?
Honestly, I think brand recognition, first mover advantage. But it's, getting somebody to go off a platform is a big ask. That's why, I'm sure, Jason, you've seen this when you've done, like a link to something on your Instagram stories. You look at how many people actually click the link, and you're like, oh man, 12 people.
That's why I'm surprised if they don't do well.
If you're lucky,
on, YouTube or whatever.
Well, I feel like it depends on your field, right? Because I'm sure you guys have seen it. There are countless women who are the Amazon hack people, and all they do and post every day is these 10 finds on Amazon, and it's like decorations for your house, or these 10 bathroom accessories, or it's videos of them putting these dumb little trinkets that they bought on Amazon, and then they post all that in their stories. I'm telling you, these women are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year easily off of Amazon affiliate sales.
Yeah.
And that's
crazy.
That's why they push it so hard. But woodworking,
it's a little
bit different. But at the same time, on the flip side of that, you have somebody like Matt Outlaw from 731.
Yeah.
He does that, and he kills it. He has this little group chat where he gets deals, and he literally sends a text to thousands of people at once on this tool alert, and that'll translate into massive sales. I mean, it's genius. It's very, very smart on his part, and he's killing it.
I think to a certain extent, it's about cultivating that audience, right? If you build a YouTube channel that's strictly honed in on shopping in the woodworking space, then you'll have people who are willing to, sign up for your group chat where you send them deals and stuff like that. But if somebody's they're not going to go to you looking for, project video or a shop layout video or something like that. So he's kind of like just super dialed in on like, woodworking consumerism, for lack of a better term, right?
Yeah, and you can see on his channel where like about a year or so ago he made that pivot and really just like he honed in hard and he nailed it.
Yeah.
He takes a lot of flack for it too, though. One of my favorite things to do sometimes is go on Reddit and see these like, which woodworking YouTuber do you hate the most, or whatever. And it's always 731 Woodworks. I mean, like he's killing it too, so there's probably haters that come along with that. But
I'm glad you brought that up. So Matt and I recently have become pretty good friends. Mm-hmm. And he was somebody, I was one of those people in that other pool. If you would have asked me I would say in the first like 3 months where he started to really go down that tool path, I was like, oh, I mean, this was a long time ago now at this point. It was a year and a half, 2 years ago, probably, if not even longer.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, he never does anything. All he's doing is like affiliate marketing and all this other stuff. And, one day, I remember I was watching one of his videos and I went to his channel, and him and I had like almost never spoken up to this point. Maybe once or twice through a message for some reason or another. We never met in person. I watched one of his videos and I was like, man, that was actually a really, really good video. And then I went to his channel and I looked and I was like, man, he has really like leaned into this stuff. And it clicked in my head. And from that moment forward, I have nothing but respect for Matt. And here's why. Because he did exactly the thing that I struggle with every single day, and I'm trying to get better. And that is separating myself and my personal feelings from the business.
Yeah, true.
So the entire time while I was in the Army, that somebody, Dadu, I think, asked a question what branch of service I was in. I was in the Army. While I was in the Army, doing YouTube and everything, this was all just kind of on the side for fun. It started to earn a good amount of money, but it wasn't. I maybe invested 5 to 10 hours a week because I was still in the Army, active duty. Like I had obligations that I had to do. I was just fortunate enough to be in a job that allowed me those 5 to 10 hours a week in order to do those things. But I always looked at the channel being me. Bent's Woodworking is me.
Yeah. Then
I retired, and like now this is, granted, I get disability and I get a pension, and I essentially make the exact same amount of money that I made on my last day of active duty, and I'll make that for the rest of my life, which is great. So I'm in a very fortunate position because of that. But now this is my job and this is paying the bills. And when I saw that he was doing that, like he just said, you know what, like this is a business and I'm going to treat it as a business and not worry about like, if I do this, somebody's going to say something. Because at the end of the day, guess what? The only people that are saying negative things is a bunch of people that are jealous about the success that he's having. And if you don't have people that are talking crap about you and hating on you, then you're not doing something right. I mean, that's finally what I came to realize. So now, like, this year, it was like one of the big things. What do I do? Can I take on sponsors? Like, still, I want to keep it in line with brands that I would actually want to promote. How can I go about doing that and bringing that in and still do it? But I'm like, it's a business. It is a business. And now I'm thinking, like, what style of video is going to get the most views? Because now I have to worry about that because I have a sponsor. And if I want those sponsors to keep coming back, I need to make sure that I'm doing certain videos.
Yeah,
but
so
it's very hard to separate your own personal feelings from your channel.
I know, and I think the magic is trying to find some sort of middle ground, like something that works for your audience but also works for you on some level. Like, have you ever asked Matt, like, does he still enjoy making the videos he makes?
I think he does, yes. But
okay, yeah, well, that's good then.
He is definitely like a lot of, I feel like he's accelerating in this space in the sense that look around and look at all the people that have been on the platform for a really long time. April Wilkerson, Jay Bates, he's kind of like, doing his own thing now. He doesn't really care too much about YouTube. But Mark Spagnolo, Johnny Brook, John Malecki, even Brad Rodriguez, all these people. what's the one thing that they all have in common that most other newer YouTubers don't have in common? That's they're focusing on things outside of YouTube, right? They're building brands and businesses that are outside of YouTube, and YouTube is just a small little thing that they basically utilize to promote the other things that they're doing.
Yeah.
Mark Spagnuolo is one of the best examples of that with the Guild, right? I look at YouTube as the top of a funnel, and a lot of people would disagree with me on this, but it's my biggest audience base. I don't need those 200 and something thousand people to do everything that I say. What I need is 100 of them to make it all the way down to the bottom. And those 100 people are the ones that send me messages and say, hey, Jason, do you have an affiliate link to this company because I'm about to buy this tool? Or, hey, I bought this based on your recommendation. Or, hey, I want to sign up for your shop consultation services. Hey, I want to give back on Patreon. That small group of people can make the biggest difference. Right? The huge pool up here doesn't matter. So what ends up happening is people find what their niche is, and then they utilize the platform of YouTube in order to promote those other things, hoping that 100 people get down to that thing that they really want to talk about. Because think about it like this. If I have 250,000 subscribers and I have a course on shop layout available on my website that costs $100, would it be awesome if 250,000 people bought that thing? Of course it would, but that's not realistic.
Yeah.
But if I can get 100 or 200 people to do it, that's a big chunk of change every month.
Yeah.
Right. And that's people that I can focus my time and focus my energy on. And all I have to do is utilize my big platform in order to talk about that thing, hoping that it'll push people down. And in the middle, there's something. And then down a little bit further, there's something else that costs a little bit more. And then down at the bottom, there's the grand finale, that type of thing.
Yeah, and I think if you really want to be, full capitalist or whatever, you want to have something, your YouTube video is the thing that appeals to the widest audience. So that's, you make money from your YouTube video. You have ads on it, right? Doesn't actually cost the audience anything, but you get a fraction of a cent for everyone that watches it. Then you might have, your top 10% fans. They might be willing to join your Patreon or something like that. And then you have your top 1% fans. They might be willing to buy your course. So it's kind of like finding something that you can sell, for lack of a better term, to each slice of that pie or each slice of your audience.
Oh, absolutely. That's why it's so important. And that goes back to what I was talking about with Matt. Like, he has figured that out. Like, he has something in between for everybody. And he has his own business, Faith Valley Tools.
Faith Valley Tools,
yeah, that he's doing that butter. Now. He has the text message thing that he does. That's a different audience that appeals to. Yep. He has the people that are probably supporting him on Patreon. He has the people that come to his live streams. He does all this, and he's really, really done a great job at figuring that out. And now, like I said, I have nothing but respect for the guy, because I try to emulate. I would love to emulate what he's doing in a way, not that I want to go down this rabbit hole of talking about every single tool and just having affiliate links galore. But he looked at what worked for him, and he's doing what's best for him and his family. And guess what? His audience, the people that he's finding, that's the funniest misconception about YouTube. I know you guys have had this happen. If you've ever had somebody that's commented on Instagram or YouTube and said, this channel's turned into this, I've unsubscribed.
Yeah.
They have to announce their departure, right? Jonathan Katz-Moses said a very funny thing to me. He said, you don't need to announce your departure. It's not an airport. We were talking about this exact same thing when I was there. We were sitting, drinking beers, smoking cigars, BSing about this thing. And it was just funny that people feel the need to do that. But for every single person that gets offended or is fed up with your channel, you'll find 500 people that are there because they never found you and they like that type of content.
Yeah.
So people think that, I'm going to leave and this is going to make a difference on this guy. No, it doesn't. Leave. I don't want you here. You know what I mean?
It can, if all of a sudden, you're gaining one subscriber and losing 500, it's okay, maybe I need to reevaluate at this point.
What are the chances that would ever happen? Unless you were a woodworking video and then all of a sudden you got into lawn care.
Yes. Yeah.
Or
And you
watches.
tried to pitch lawn care to your audience.
Hey, I'm doing a lawn care spot on Instagram right now, so. But yeah, it's I think of being like a social media creator as like it's almost like fishing, like you're trolling for fish, and you're collecting people who are kind of aligned with you, and then you're sorting out the people who aren't. And every time you have like a viral video that goes out to a wider audience than just your subscriber base, it's like you're pulling new people in. You're probably going to lose a few along the way, but that's okay because you're trying to sort a group of people who are like very aligned with your interests and the topics of videos that you want to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people that are the most successful in this field, and this is where I've struggled for so long. I never looked at YouTube this way. The people that are the most successful in this space are the people who pay attention to what the analytics are telling them.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Because it is not a I don't know what the right word for that. It's not a mystery, I guess would be the right word, how to be successful. It isn't.
Yeah.
I consider my channel to be an unsuccessful channel in the woodworking space on YouTube for one reason. I have been on since. Say that. Well, a lot of people, like you probably wouldn't say that, right? And a lot of people that don't have channels would look at that and go, that's absolutely crazy that you're saying that. And I hate that this keeps giving the thumbs up thing. But
yeah, you gotta find the setting for that. Eric's does it too.
I say that it's a unsuccessful channel simply because of the fact that I look at myself. December 31st, 2017 is when I posted my first video. I have 170 videos on YouTube. I have 240 something thousand, I think, subscribers. And I look around and I see these people who have been on since 2022, 2023.
Right, sure.
200, 300, 400,000
Yeah.
subscribers. And this is not me hating on them. I am nothing but like in this space, I want everybody to be successful. But when I look at that metric,
right,
I'm like, okay, clearly I'm doing something wrong. And I can look at my channel and see things that I've done wrong in the past. But again, I always know that I've been the one that got in the way. But there are ways to be successful. It's very cut and dry.
Yeah.
John Cesaro is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Because he approaches his channel from a very analytical perspective, and he does the research, and he does. Suman's another good example. Scott's another good example. They know what they're looking for. They have this relationship with each other where they can bounce ideas off each other, and there is success. There's key indicators in your previous successes, right?
Yes, 100%.
So like I know on my channel, tool list videos do well, cabinet related videos do well. Like why am I not just making all those videos all the time, right? Like why not do that? Because myself, I was getting in my own way. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want my audience to think that I'm selling out. But if I start paying attention to my analytics, which I have been lately, if you really know what to look for,
there's an arrow point. It's like, here's what the audience is telling you.
It is really incredible to figure out like, okay, I need to stop doing this and I need to be doing more of this.
But okay,
the
so
audience for this style video is a very different demographic than this style video.
Can I play devil's advocate for just 1 second? Because I do agree with you in large part. But last week we were talking with Scott. He was saying that he was hitting this wall where he's like, I know what's successful on my channel, but I don't want to do that thing. Like he wants to do more advanced woodworking projects, but his audience just wants him to build 2x4 workbenches. And so now he's kind of at this crossroad where he's going to try some more advanced videos and he's not sure how they're going to do on his channel. So I feel like if you go too much at like, I'm just going to do what works, you do risk kind of burning yourself out or turning what was this kind of dream job into more of a grind.
I Absolutely agree. Anytime you turn a hobby into a job, it changes it, right? Same thing with woodworking, same thing with YouTube. YouTube started out as a hobby for me. But that's a great point. And that's something that I want to highlight is that there are so many second and third order effects that happen if you don't follow the trends that are successful on your channel. And here's what I mean. We already kind of discussed it with the sponsorship thing. Up until this year, so I started doing sponsored videos. My goal was to do one per month if I could land them. I've never had people beating down I've never had reputable companies beating down my door. It's always like this Chinese company wanting me to do some 45 bank, cell phone charger or something like that. So I just ignore them. But I was able to get lined up with a couple of good companies. Sure. At the end of last year, my wife left her job. She came onto the business and she was going to actually be working for Ben's Woodworking, we thought. And so the very first day, January 1st, we're sitting in the office and we're like, okay, first thing we need to discuss, how can we replace your income? My wife made, I don't know, $65,000 a year in the position that she was in. And I was like, I'll do one sponsored video per month. We'll surpass your income. No problem. Right. And so it just so happened that like 2 days later, I ended up getting an email from a company saying, we want to do this. That's turned into like 4 or 5 months now. And then I got another company that has been doing it for 4 or 5 months. So, we've surpassed that already. Right. And I was like, okay, I need to start focusing on what kind of videos are going to do well. But in his scenario, if he's looking at his analytics and he's in the position that I'm in, like now I'm actually taking on sponsors, and that's important to me. And that's another way to make really good money. You have to focus on the things that are going to get the views, because if I fail to perform, a really good example is the last video I just released, the layout stuff. In my head, initially, I was like, oh, this is going to be a great video. I just have to title it right. It's bombing. The company is going to look at that. The first video we did was a huge success, which is why they came back and said, let's do 3 more months. I said, okay, let's do it. First video of the next 3 did okay, but there was no view guarantees associated with it. This video, it's not going to be, it's not going to be good. So now I'm already thinking I need to focus that. So if I want to have sponsors and have that income be continuous,
you had to stay at a certain level.
You have to play the game, right? Because in his scenario, and I get where he's coming from, because he's right. If you start doing videos that you don't enjoy doing, you're not going to enjoy doing this job anymore, and you're going to get burned out. If you want to appeal to a much wider audience, then you got to do stuff like build furniture out of 2x4s. That, like, my channel, I have expensive tooling. This isn't me tooting my own horn. This is just me as a person. Like, I'm obsessive about things. I have all the expensive tools that everybody wants. I use a ton of Festool, and I don't build projects out of 2x4s from Home Depot. So guess what? My channel's never going to be as big as Modern Builds, who builds picnic tables out of 2x4s. And, for like $13, and you have a picnic table, and I used Ryobi, like whatever. And that's fine. That's his audience. That's his channel, and he's killing it. But there's a reason why his audience is so big, is because he found what worked and he leveraged that. I bet you if you asked him if he loves what he's doing, he probably would say, I really wish that I could do other things. And that's something that I find interesting in his scenario. Is I feel like you'll notice that on a lot of these channels that are really big, that started off doing things where they were building stuff out of 2x4s and they were using Ryobi and Rigid and all these other things. Guess what? They get tired of it and they're like, I really wonder what Festool would be like. And then they buy a Domino, and then
that's why I'm wondering, like, is there a trade-off between being hyper-focused on what you're doing? Because you're like, okay, you were saying your channel, you've been doing it for 7 years. You compare your success to other people who are, more focused and have seen faster growth. But the fact that you maintained that business for 7 years, if you were just making, Amazon affiliate bait videos, would you have lasted 7 years? Is there a trade-off between actually, like, yeah, maybe you're not going to always hit 1 million views every video you put out, but you actually enjoy the stuff you're making, so you're able to sustain the business for longer. You're not burning yourself out.
My answer to that is going to be yes. And here's why. The YouTube audience is always evolving.
Yeah.
The more people that are on the platform, the more people are getting into each space, whether it's photography, whether it's woodworking, whether it's fishing, it doesn't matter what it is. More and more people are doing it. More and more people are searching it. The highest searched, streamed platform in the world, again, is YouTube, right? So we are in the infant stages of all of this. Like, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. The problem is that so many more people are coming on, it's making it harder. However, if you had success, if you're making affiliate link, bait videos and you do that, yeah, you may piss off some people that were your audience, but guess what? That video is going to get shown to different people all the time, new people that never knew you existed. It's remarkable to me how many people have YouTube channels, how many people are on Instagram, how many people have these huge audiences. I have no idea who they are. Cam from Blacktail Studio, I did not know who he was, never heard his name until last year at WorkbenchCon. He's the biggest influencer in woodworking on YouTube.
Yeah. Well,
and
it's really easy.
Said, who is this Cam from Blacktail Studio? Who is this? And they're like, it's
I think I had a similar experience, actually.
Yeah.
That's
how big the world is.
But have you ever had, have you ever opened up the YouTube app as a viewer and just been like, oh, I'd like to find something to watch, and you're like, oh, there's nothing on YouTube, and then you find some weird thread of a niche that you didn't even know existed, and then you pull out that thread a little bit by watching one video, and then all of a sudden your feed is completely transformed with an entirely new niche that you didn't even... It's really easy to get sideload into a very small area of YouTube, like a weird corner where you're just watching advanced woodworking videos, but they're not that advanced, but they're not beginner, but it's, I don't know. It's just really easy to get siloed in.
That's the interesting thing about YouTube is that, I mean, it's very apparent to me how they serve up content now. I don't watch a lot of woodworking content unless I'm watching a friend's video that has been released, or I am searching for a very particular thing that I'm doing. I do not watch woodworking videos. I watch a ton of watch-related content. So my feed is full of watch-related stuff. And honestly, that's probably the biggest thing that I watch. So my feed is full, some golf stuff too. Lately, I've been watching golf stuff. So a lot of golf stuff will show up in my feed as well. Not woodworking until I search, woodworking joints or something, or, beginner's guide to dovetail joints or whatever. Then boom, all of a sudden it's watch video, woodworking, golf, woodworking, watch. Yeah. So they're constantly changing it, which is why it's no surprise to me that there's so many people out there that I have no idea they even exist. And that was another thing with WorkbenchCon this year. I was looking around, I'm like, who are all these people? Yeah. And it's now we're the seniors and they're all the freshmen that are the cool kids at school that...
Yeah, there's definitely different there's definitely classes or generations almost. I feel like certain people come up together at the same time, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure why that happens. You'd think it'd be more evenly distributed, but yeah.
Let's pick this up in the after show.
Yeah. Sorry, I realize we're running long on time, and I have a question that I want to ask you, Jason, in the after show.
7 inches.
Okay, well. You gotta tease it. Well, this is a driver for our Patreon.
Oh, okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Jason, thank you so much for more than filling in for Eric. Let's be honest.
I mean, I could have showed up, said hello, drank a beer, and then left, and it would have been more. I would have given more to this podcast than he has on every episode combined.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I was glad to be here.
See you, everybody.
See you.
All right. And real quick, I saw you starred some stuff, Derek, in the live chat.
We addressed them.
We addressed it all? Oh, okay, great.
Yep.
Real quick, we want to come up with a name for this episode. The one where
Is this where I can go to the bathroom?
No, you give me 1 minute, and you can go.
Okay.
Derek, I can.
No, let's think of an episode name.
Somebody put in there the one where they get bent, but I think we used that one already.
I think that's what we used the first time Jason was on. The one
The
where
one,
they burn
where they
burn
realized Eric has no value.
How about the one where Jason tries on Eric's shoes?
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah, the one where
That's a good
Jason
one.
wears Eric's shoes.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they look better.
look better.
Are they?
right.
Can they still see this in the chat? What we're
Yeah,
talking
because
about
we're still live on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, we may need to switch to this.
Yeah,
Just like a little extra for him.
All right, but on that note, I think we got the show title, so I'm going to end the live stream, and I'll see you guys. Most of you are patrons, so I'll see you over on the Patreon front.
So I just need to